Well, welcome everybody to the 25th anniversary celebration of, look at that cool emoji wave in the chat, 25th anniversary celebration of my favorite Tim Schafer game, Full Throttle Remastered. I've told you that before, Tim, and I mean that sincerely. I love this video game, and I've talked to you about it before, but I've never had the opportunity to do this, which is to just play it and just talk to you about it as we go. So
finally get those hints to answer that you asked about.
Yes, I don't have
crack in the wall puzzle that you had stuffed on last time.
It won't cost me $3 a minute to call the hotline.
Oh, it does. I will be sending you a bill. So
send invoice me.
Price has gone up. I apologize in advance for my voice, which suddenly, like 5 minutes before this, all of a sudden decided to get husky. Which maybe that works. It's my last fault. I think of Maureen.
Yeah, exactly. You can play an extra in the game here. I love this
an hour. Game. That's about enough time to play it twice. Probably we can probably get there. We're gonna speed run it today, right?
We're gonna whatever you want to do. Yeah. It's all you. Everybody here's played it, so spoiler warning if you haven't played it. We're just gonna be going through this. But yeah, Tim, I tell you, I want to kind of get to the how different things were back then, because I'll tell you the way that I came to this game was on a demo disc, like a literal disc that was included.
Demo discs.
I think I got the disc from like Babbage's or one of the game stores when I had bought. It might have been Dark Forces. I don't know if you remember. Yeah, but I was like, "What's this Full Throttle thing?" Like, I literally didn't know. I read. What was I? I would read PC Gamer back then, and I guess probably EGM, but I just didn't. I did not know about Full Throttle until I had this demo with this other game, the other LucasArts game I bought.
You're like, what part of Star Wars was this?
Well, I literally thought, oh, this Full Throttle, this must be like a motorcycle combat game. I had no idea it was a point-and-click adventure. No idea it was you. And then when I popped it in and tried it, because I've always loved the LucasArts point-and-click adventure games. I mean, they were among my favorites at the time and still are. And so when it turned out to be a LucasArts point-and-click adventure game, I was like, oh my goodness, I have to have this game. And then, of course, I started following it closely from there. And when it came out, I went and bought it at Babbage's in the mall on the first day it came out in the horizontal box, which I would nerdily hold up, but it's being displayed on my office desk. It's
covered with COVID right now. Can't get to it right now.
It might be, but
that sideways box. See, that was our big. On Day of Tentacle, we tried to do a cool box by having it triangle shaped, and we thought we were so cool. And then the stores like Babbage's were like, we hate this box so bad. We don't have any shelves we can put this thing on. Good catch with that screensaver. And they were mad about it, and so we're like, okay, how about if it's just sideways? And then you can turn it sideways if you want. So but that was fun. I wrote all the copy on the back of it. That was
nice. So I wanted to ask you too, like about a demo. Like, I guess, so does Lucas come to you and say, hey, we want a demo to include with something else, and then you got to just slice off the first chunk of the game?
Well, I mean, back then it was mostly assumed every game had a demo. You remember, demos are very common. I think we did a demo on Brutal Legend. That was the last demo we ever did, and but for a while it was like every game, because that's got to sell these games, you got to ship them out on a little bundled discs like you got with PC Gamer and stuff.
Yep.
So we just assumed we had to make a demo. And it probably made it for an E3 or something, or CES back then.
Right.
And then we release it, and then marketing does all kinds of different things with it and sticks it on. Like, you bought a sound card, you got a copy of the demo in there. You know, and those were the days. Demos were fun.
So let me.
Now when someone asks me to make a demo, I'm like, I'm going to kill you.
No way. Yeah.
That's cost $5 million to make that demo. Don't get away from me.
This intro. So 1995. This intro, the opening credit sequence for this game, just floored me back then with this sort of pseudo 3D, and it looked like CGI. Like, this is such a beautiful intro. How much time did you guys spend on that?
Well, I mean, it did use 3D. There's the very early days of 3D, like 3ds Max had come, and we were using it obviously in games. but it was very primitive. The rendering was very primitive back then, and we weren't happy because we were trying to do something special with the art style.
Yeah.
And we didn't think it worked, but what we did was we rendered all the bikes, all the vehicles are rendered in 3D, and then hand painted over. So that someone like that limousine, you can tell it's a 3D object because of the way it moves, but it was painted, cell by cell on top of it. And same with Ben's bike and stuff. So because we wanted to have this look of, there was a big, back then the debate was a lot of like, should we do cartoony games like Monkey Island, Dead Tentacle, or would we do serious games like all the Star Wars stuff and do gritty games like, and our artists like Peter Chan and Larry Ahern were talking about how there is, people didn't throw around terms like stylized back then. It was either cartoony or realistic were like the two terms. And so Peter would bring up things like Mike Mignola and the art of Hellboy, and look at the graphic simplicity of these backgrounds in Hellboy, and that's a it's not cartoony, but it's also not realistic either. It's very stylized. And then Larry, speaking of characters, we talk a lot about Aeon Flux. Do you remember Aeon Flux?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, from MTV's what was it called, Liquid Television.
Yes.
So Aeon Flux had what we call a very adult cartoony style. And so those were two, I think, for characters and backgrounds, the two big inspirations on the art. And so that's why we were so picky about what it looked like.
So about to take over here shortly. But I want to ask you too. The voice cast in this game is amazing, and we'll get to Mark Hamill. But I want to start with Roy Conrad. I mean, Roy Conrad. We sadly, of course, he passed away a number of years ago. I believe it was lung cancer, if I remember correctly. I remember reading about his passing. Where do you find him? Is it just a casting call from LucasArts, or how many guys auditioned, and who were? What's kind of that process, and do you just know it as soon as you hear Roy, or what was that like?
Yeah, I mean, we had our casting director was Tim Neilio, and Chris Brown, who works with us today, was working on the game, on the voice too. And they would, back then, we get cassette tapes like with demos on them, just mailed right to the office. Nowadays, we work with a casting director and the agents, create all these, MP3 files, but we back then a box of cassette tapes and sit there and like play each demo. Wow. And I was torn. Like there's a type, I still see this today. Like there's a type of tough guy that just I don't like, because it sounds like they're trying so hard to be tough. Like and there's something not tough about someone trying to be tough. And then Roy Conrad comes in with his voice. It's almost gentle. It's like he's deep and low, but you can tell that he's like a strong sounding. He sounds like a strong person who doesn't have to act tough because he just is tough, and we just loved him. And he was the sweetest guy. He's a really nice guy too. One
of the things that surprised me about this game, like I said, when I first played it, that demo, I didn't know what it was. So I start playing it, and as soon as the part coming up, as soon as you punch your way out of the dumpster, and you just start, it's a point and click adventure. We're going to start looking around and reading. I remember one of the first things I clicked on was like the warning label, the poster on the side of the dumpster. That's warning, do not sleep in dumpster. And as soon as this starts, which we'll get to in a second, I remember I was cracking up because it's so, Roy's delivery, it's so dry. The humor is so dry. Like, was it written that way, or did the dryness kind of come from Roy's performance?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. I mean, every actor just interprets, what you write. And back then I didn't go to the recording studio, so Hamlin and Chris did the directing, and but we definitely talked about the character and what he should sound like. And I think because his audition, he read it that way. That's, it makes it a lot easier if you have the dialogue samples and the actor just nails it in the audition, and we're like, do it like that. Do it like that's awesome. Do it like that. And the influences, a lot of it was like, obviously Bruce Campbell, I think, from, Evil Dead. Was Evil Dead 2? Evil Dead 2 is out, and Evil Dead 3 is not out, I don't think. But Bruce Campbell, he's very, a very similar, strong jawed. Oh, look, his beard is the same color as mine now. I've just slowly turned it into. I mean, everyone knows Ben was based on my.
May be a violation of local health ordinances.
Based on my life. Man was a. So anyway, Ryan, now you should ask some of the smart sounding questions, because my jokes are going to foul.
All right, so let's Let's go in the bar. One of my favorite jokes in the game is in the bar. Although we have to, I guess we got to get. Yeah, we'll try to start the bike.
Yeah. Yeah. Kickstand was back in the early days when we were trying to get Soundgarden to do the music. They had a song called Kickstand. And we're like, this is meant to be. We have to get Soundgarden to do this.
Like that.
And their sound would have been great. And we went down to A&M Records and had a meeting and everything. We felt all Hollywood about it. And then they were like, "Oh, you're not going to give us any money? You just want us to give you the music for free?" And we're like, "Yeah, we don't have any money."
Now, see, we learned with Ben. All right. Well, if we can't knock, nobody's going to let us in. We learn what Ben is capable of.
He solves puzzles.
Yes.
I always love that tiny little animation of him kicking.
I
Fixed your door. It was sticky.
Look, I
Love
don't
it.
want no trouble.
Oh, Roy
Just
Conrad.
leave me out of this mess.
I love looking at every single one of these pictures on the wall back here, which of course, back then, there's no detail. They're just these abstract things, and you got to go look at them, and all the humor is in just the descriptions that you guys wrote for these. And I guess let's go wander back and take a look at a couple of them.
Because
It's a big blobby gray shape. I was taking an art class.
So there's your
that's
first.
just me. So the way the process would work, even back like on Monkey Island, and we would get there was a separation. The artist would do their art and kind of throw it over the wall. The designer would say what the room was all about and what had to be in there. But then they would do the art, and then we as the scumlets would get it. And look at the art and be like, okay, what can I do in this room? And we would tag everything we thought the player would think would be interesting, and then we'd try and write something to say about each thing. And so there's like, that's a blobby shape. I really don't know what to tell you
So
about
good.
that, but it's just
15 guys with towels in their belts.
My graduating class from bartending school.
And then one of these
I
is.
don't even know that's a joke, but that's just the truth.
Where's this your pit bull? No, that's my baby picture. Let's see.
That's one big fish.
Yep.
And this is what's great about your games. There's just so much.
This your pit bull.
Here we go.
Nah, that's my baby picture.
There's so much just richly layered humor and fun in your video games. It's like, how many passes do you take at a scene like this? Like, you've got the dialogue and you know what the player ultimately needs to do, but for coloring the scene, verbally speaking and sort of joke wise, how many times do you go over this?
Like once, usually. I mean,
Once?
we often have
You're
a
good.
pass to write all the cutscenes in the game, like the main line through cutscenes. And then when we get a piece of art like this, we're like, well, we just call it wiring up the room. Got to wire up the room.
It's a badger.
And the scumlets, the programmers, were also the writers. So we get the art and be like, I gotta line up all the places he could walk on the floor. I gotta paint the Z depth where he's gonna go behind, and then I gotta put funny lines on all these things. And that would just be like maybe a couple of days, but that was all we really had back then.
Yeah.
And it would take him a day or two to paint it.
All right, so we'll go talk, and then one of my favorite jokes in a moment.
Looks like
Putting a lot of
out
pressure on
customers.
jokes.
The gang took off with those well-dressed gentlemen.
I don't know how many times
So
I've played
what
this
would be
game.
that?
It's a lot. I love it. I'm the
Someone's
kind of
crying.
player.
Someone's-
I'm the
someone's
kind of
crying in
player
the
who
chat.
would. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would go through every bit of dialogue. I'm one of those players.
I want to know
It's-
who knocked me out.
It's hard because like you want this person, you want the dialogue to last, so you put in a response and like I'll give an extra response, and no matter how many responses you write, someone will always get to the end of it and be like, oh, like you can't. There's no way. And if you make it too long, people feel like, oh, I'm trapped here talking to this character.
Yeah.
I want to, like some people like you maybe feel like trapped by the dialogue. Like you can't go on because this guy's still giving you new responses. So is it better to write a bunch of responses or
But
to?
not much.
Sometimes it's more merciful just to like let them know that you didn't write anything else special for it. Just let that line repeat so they know they can walk away.
Well, and later in the game, I mean, we won't have time to get to it now, but when you come back to the kickstand later and the truck driver is sitting there,
Also,
I
Mark
didn't-
Hamill.
Wow, okay, I didn't know that. I did not know until I believe I read it in EGM as an Easter egg later about the knife
Mumbly
mini
peg?
game. Yeah,
Yeah,
I learned about that. You have to bug him. I believe is it 10 times?
10
I think
times, yeah.
10
That's a really-
times.
that's a good. That's not a puzzle. That's just
So,
a.
yeah, you just have
activity.
to like. Who would do that? Who would bug him 10 times?
Yeah, because I think it was like some people wanted to cut it because they're like, because if you look at the art for the room, it's a hand with every single cut enabled, and it's disgusting. Something really disgusting about that.
I would
look at it.
purposely hack the hand to see how how tortured it could go.
But it's kind of that, that phobia where you can't stand to look at holes. The hand kind of has that look to it, and people would look at that and be like, "Oh, we can't put this in a game." I'm like, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Like, okay, we'll make it really hard to get.
So nowadays, you'd probably have telemetry since every game is connected online. You would know how many people got that Easter egg.
And but we should have put that in the remaster.
All right, so let's now. This is my favorite.
You know what might look better on your nose?
What?
The bar.
The bar.
It's nothing against nose rings. I don't want people with nose rings to think I have something against them.
All right.
Because
Got your keys,
it's
but I
really
don't know
rude.
nothing.
But
Guns. They told me to
Mark
stay
Hamill
as
does
long
3
as
parts in the game.
possible.
3 different characters.
Why?
Ripburger is obviously the main
Themselves
one.
in
Yeah.
an ambush up the
Mhm.
road.
And then you just mentioned the truck driver.
Nothing.
Who's the
Emmett.
third? Yeah.
Let's see if you get to him. I'll see if you
All
get
right.
to him.
He's all right.
But he was so fun to work with in the studio. That was our first big. Well, we had we had Les Nessman from WKRP in Cincinnati, which no one under 45 knows who that is. But so that was exciting. But I didn't get to go meet him. But we got to go meet Mark Hamill and work with him. He did all his stuff in one day, I believe.
Wow. Because that was, back then, Mark Hamill. He was known as a voice actor. Star Wars.
He was already doing Joker, I believe.
Yeah.
He was already. Yeah.
That was his. I mean, he did a lot of games and a lot of VO.
Yeah. I think he was that little, not goblin, but he was that little pixie in Carandia, wasn't he? Am I making that up? Maybe I'm making that up.
Sure.
He did some other voices by there. Oh, Wing Commander.
Right. Yeah. So how do you get Mark Hamill? It's obviously through the Lucas connection, but it's like, do you request him? Like, hey, could we get Mark Hamill for this, or how does that?
It went through channels. Tamlin was talking about how he's doing Joker and stuff, and through connections, we probably leaned on our Lucas contacts too. But I mean, he was he's a working actor and he likes to do cool stuff, and so it wasn't impossible. Oh, see this part, I swear got harder over the years. I don't know if he didn't lock it to a certain frame rate, but before the remaster, this part would have been impossible on a modern computer. I don't know what. I'm waving my hands. It's not me. I swear we didn't make it that hard on purpose.
I remember. The actual the combat sequence, the proper one later, the longer one. I gotta get my kicks there. Yeah. Come on.
You switch weapons. Yeah, right in the face. Right in the mutton chops. His beard indicates the area to punch. No, Ryan. I thought you played this before. I thought you played this a lot. Da 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 diddly dent.
That's the spirit.
Don't let it hit you. Don't talk to me either. He's got you up against the wall.
Come on.
You got to dodge and weave. You got to move in, move out.
I know.
This could be where this whole playthrough ends, right here. Move away from him. Don't let him hit you. Punch it and pick it away. There you go. There you go.
Oh, come on. I had that.
You really had him that time. You almost had him. He's got to get out of range of his smacks.
That's the spirit. Hey. Now, harder. Like this.
Oh, yeah. Use your anger. Yeah. You're the master of this now.
Oh, come on. There we go.
Yes. I think we just give it to you on the third try. No, we don't.
I'll take it.
Walk it, walk.
Speaking of which, that's who I wanted to ask you about here is. So I love the soundtrack, the Gone Jackals here so much. I actually ordered their album out of the LucasArts product catalog.
Oh my gosh, that's
later
awesome.
Because it was sold and I'll tell you, I still have it. Bone to Pick is the name of the album, and it's really good. It's a really good album. How did you find those guys?
Well, Peter McConnell, who did all the music, or the original music, and the kind of produced the rest of the music, put out a call to local area bands, to find someone. Because after Soundgarden, we realized how expensive it was going to be to get, licensed music, and management didn't want to pay any money for the game. So we put out a call to local musicians, and Peter, I don't know if this totally swayed him, but Keith Karloff, the leader of the Gone Jackals, rode up on a motorcycle, like a big old loud rat bike, and delivered his demo tape to us, and we were like, "Oh, that's a cool bike." And he had connections to the guys that we would use to actually record a lot of the Foley for the bikes, because they brought in these straight pipe, nasty old bikes that they had like put together themselves out of Harley parts and other things, and they were so loud. And then we rolled them into the LucasArts soundstage, the beautiful soundstage at the ranch where they record the London Symphony Orchestra and all these different orchestras. We got permission to like do a photo session there and have the band play. So we have this, I don't know if I think we have it on video somewhere, but we rolled the bikes in onto this beautiful like mahogany, just beautiful wood floor, and parked them. And the band played and then we took the marketing photo. I think it's on the back of the box that shows the Gone Jackals and this bike with a full jacket. And we took the pictures, and the caretaker at the ranch was like, are these bikes gonna leak oil all over the stage? And the bike guy was like, well, she'll leave her mark.
I did with you. Need a little help getting it finished, though.
But it all turned out okay. It all turned out fine. Why was I even telling that story? Anyway, yeah, that's the Gun Jackals, and they Keith Karloff still, I think he's got a new band. He's got a YouTube channel if you want to follow his new stuff.
Okay, I would love to check that out. Yeah.
Do you have a last name?
I prefer not.
They played the rap party.
What about you?
Same
Nice.
deal.
Then it's Ben and Mo.
Which we shared with Dark Forces.
This
That's Maureen.
authorized quarterly service
Kath
letter.
Susie, she's been in a lot of animated stuff. Kath Susie, and she was Lita in Brutal Legend. Also,
I
cool.
Think of it
But
as
she's
a
awesome.
renegade Corley operation.
originally there were these twins. It was going to be like a Prince and the Pauper switched identity story with Maureen, because there were these two girls who were in the same dorm with me in college named Maureen and Tina, and they lived in this one room together. And so I had these twins named Maureen and Tina, and then Tina got cut. So sorry, Tina.
Switch to toast.
Wow, she's out there. She's sad now, somewhere disappointed. I do see Ben Throttle joined the party here, so we've got Ben is actually
Oh my
in
gosh.
the chat. Yeah,
But we got to watch what we say.
I know.
So
Beat us up.
Ben wrote his own dialogue and he did his own stunts. I think we should give him credit for that.
In this town.
Well, Melonweed's
Maureen
not
was
much
the
of a
first,
town.
like,
What's left of it is sinking about a foot a year.
Exercise in like character. I had never done a character who I wanted to, like a secondary character I wanted to feel really real, like a real person. And so I wrote this whole chart about what she's doing all throughout the game when she's not on screen, like where she is and what she's thinking about. And it really helped because she goes away and comes back a couple times.
Yeah.
And so it's important to realize what she's been through. Like her father's killed, and who she thinks killed them. She thinks Ben killed him at one point. So it's really important, I think, to keep track of that stuff for all your side characters. That they don't just exist when they're on the screen. They exist when they're off the screen.
Took care of me after Dad.
Excellent question in chat from Laramie J. Tim, how did you conceive the world for this game? It's sort of a Earth-like, but also kind of Mad Max alternate reality.
Yeah, I mean, I think for all our games and every game I've done, we always try not say that it's set on Earth. I think Day of the Tentacle with all the American history references was the closest we came to okay, that was kind of an alternate Earth, but we always act like they're just in this weird fantasy world. And this one is definitely, I loved Road Warrior and Mad Max, and that was obviously a big influence on the game, but we didn't really make it, it's not a post-apocalyptic story. Like there's no mushroom clouds or destroyed things. It's more just like a desolate wasteland, and the really unifying thing, it was all about decay. Like I love this picture that Peter Chan drew. That you have, there's a whole building that's sunk in the ground. They're like, we'll just build on top of it. We'll build up on the roof as the first building sinks into the mud. Just like a town in decay. But our only rule was, does it look cool? I remember just having that discussion of like, well, why do they have fans lifting up these hover cars? Is that appropriate for the technology? We're like, is it cool? Let's do it. It's cool. And so, which the bikes have pipes? Why do they need all those pipes? It looks cool. Because it was just this unifying thing of like, let's just make a world that everything looks cool for no reason, and that's how we did it. Sounds kind of juvenile when I say it out loud like that, but we didn't worry too much, I guess I'm saying, about the technology level and where it came from.
Really? Where?
Well, that adds a cool sort of timelessness to your games too, which I've always appreciated over the years.
Somewhere between here.
I mean, I think it's meant to be not a world that's created by an apocalypse or like the end of society, but just in some ways just the decay of society. And it's obviously about rich and poor people. There's a lot about that with Rip Burger and so I think that it was really just playing on those things, just your average everyday people living in a town like Melonweed that's sinking into the mud, and then the rich shareholders and Corley Motors, and having a little more. You get to go to his offices and see the rich, lavish lifestyle he's leading.
Yeah.
I'd better be going.
All
right.
right, drive safe now.
But no nukes. Even disconnected the song Chitlins Whisper that plays in top. That's the song about the apocalypse. That's proof that it's a post-apocalyptic, but it's just a popular song at the time. Dark Forces rules. Something like that.
And away she goes.
Thanks for the lift. Now I got a quote for you.
We were going for obviously a Rosie Perez thing. Rosie Perez was really big back then, so it's.
Oh yeah, White Men Can't Jump. Yeah.
Photographer.
All right.
You're getting really far in this game. Try not to finish it within the hour, because that'll be. I'm so glad Twitter wasn't around when we shipped this, because there was some guff about the length of the game. It was one of the first games. We always try to go for 40 hours on the. We always put that on the box. I don't know if anyone ever tested it. We're like, it feels like 40 hours. And then this was the first game that was more like 10 to 8, and it really shocked some people that it was that short. It was, we put so much into the production values and the cinematics of it that it really cost enough just to make the game the length it was. We had a whole other town that got cut.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, Poyahoga was the name of the town, and it stood for "Don't drink the water; it's poisonous." And we had another biker gang that were like these motorcycles that were like water skeeters. They would skid over the water on these little pontoons. What was I talking about that for? Oh, but when it came out, it was like, well, there's some flack on CompuServe about the length of it, and it's like it was such a distant, gentle feedback, whereas now it'd be much rougher. But I actually turned out, it was like our best-selling adventure game, and one of the things that came back in the feedback was someone saying that was the first adventure game I ever finished, and it seemed like people finishing games was like something they actually enjoyed.
Did so that the town that you cut? Were there puzzles and everything written for it? How far did it get?
No, it was just a town, and there's some concept art of that biker gang, but that's it. You're in Todd's house. When I was replaying this, I actually forgot this puzzle. I almost had to look it up. So could you tell who did the voice of Todd?
Oh, you know what? I confess I wasn't listening since you and I were talking.
He was in another George Lucas production.
All right, where was the...
His name rhymes with Dark Camel.
There you go. There's our third guy.
Don't forget the meat. There's meat in the cupboard.
I got that. And then wait, let's see.
Oh, you found the lockpick. So now you can go back to the. Not to tell you this, but pretend you called the hint line. For $3, I'll tell you. You got to go back to the gas, the lock on the.
To get in the
gas tower.
The watchtower. Yeah. All right.
I like how Peter designed how the elevator gets from the trailer to the basement. You put that little.
Some welding down there, or we're talking about some.
Just throw some dirt in my yard. Subcode wiring. And an electrician friend of mine later was like, "There's nothing. There's no such thing as subcode wiring." It's a dumb line. Made sense to me. And then because it's Peter, there's some vaguely Millennium Falcon shaped object in the sky.
Yes.
Always sneaking Millennium Falcons in everywhere. Don't forget the lock.
Oh, right.
It's okay. Don't worry about it. I was so proud of that. Leaving something on the ground.
Never do that in an adventure game.
That was so clever. Yep.
What could possibly go wrong?
This animation of him jumping off the ladder was the first thing Pete Sakel did for the game, I believe, that we noticed. He would later become the art director on Grim. Oh, you didn't climb the ladder. You know the solution to the puzzle. You're going to get shot now.
Yeah, well, treat people.
See hovercrafts. Who's got the hovercrafts? The police, not the poor people. I make it sound like we were doing a political thing with the game, but we were. One thing I like in the remaster is that we fixed these spotlights. In the original game, they were grabbed from like a still image, and if you look in the far views, they have a little bit of like the sunset on the end of them that moves with the light. It always grossed me out, but we fixed it in the remaster, so you gotta get the remaster. You gotta play the whole game again if you haven't played it in the remaster, just to fix that.
I guess now, I mean, now that you're owned by Microsoft, but this game isn't, right? It's still, this is like
It's owned by Walt Disney's
right.
Minions.
So,
yeah, they work with us to do deals and bring it to other platforms, and we definitely do go through them on everything.
all right, so let's see. What's the hose is here, right? Or the all right. Let's see. I got to remember. You can tell it's been a little while since I played it.
They can see you. They can see you. Did you leave?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they give a false alarm, right? At some point when.
Yeah, you gotta hide in the darker spot than that.
Yeah.
You gotta go back.
Back here, right?
Yep. So speaking about Disney, we just got their approval to bring these games to the Xbox. So that's
yes.
great.
Oh, that's great news.
Been not on Xbox for a long time. So yeah, later this year sometime we're gonna have these games on Xbox, and it's gonna be it'd be great to see them on that platform.
That is great news. Oh, that's we're breaking news on this.
Yeah, world premiere.
So that'll be Full Throttle and Grim Fandango as well,
and Data Tentacle.
And all three. Okay,
yeah.
Great.
Yep.
That is fantastic news.
He must have run away.
We're not happy till they're everywhere,
running from the air.
Especially Xbox is very helpful to have.
Yeah, because it was. I think you had told me previously when I'd asked about that, it was Sony had sort of helped arrange the whole thing in the first place. Was that so they kind of got the exclusivity on it, or?
Yeah, the old, Gio and Aaron and a lot of the people at, back then were big adventure game fans, and at Disney you had Johnny Rignacci was there at the time, and he was a big fan of those games, and just that combination of all those people kind of helped. So kind of, I don't want to say lubricate the path. They lubricated the path. Let's just say it. They did. They greased the wheels and got all that. Because it was a pretty complicated deal and pretty hard to get all those approvals, and it got through. And just because much people really love the games and were very supportive and helpful. Same as now, the Xbox people and Disney people working together.
Excellent.
Coming together for adventure games.
Synergy. All right.
I looked away. Did you pump the gas?
I need to get the hose.
How long do you think those guys are going to stay there? Come on. Get moving. Wait, where's the hose?
Where is it again? I don't have it.
Uh-oh. Do I remember? You got the can from Maureen's.
Yeah, hold on.
You left the can there. What's going to happen? You're really testing me. I was actually curious to see what was going to happen if you left the can. Would they ever? And we made it a collapsible can because we're like, how could you?
Why not? Yeah.
In Animal Crossing, I'm carrying around an entire teacup ride. I don't know why anyone worries about how big the gas can is in your. And Monkey 2, you could carry a dog around under your jacket.
Wait. Let's go.
Someone in the chat, tell us where the gas can is. See if you can figure it out before I think of it. It's at Moe's place. That does sound right. But the gas can was in the Moe's place. In the old days, we would make sure all the items you need are in completely different locations. We had a big chart on the wall for Monkey Island that was like every inventory item for every puzzle, every inventory item had to be on a different island, so you'd have maximum sailing around. Oh, the Uncle Pete pick. You're right.
Yeah, we looked at that earlier. We'll go there later.
Did you see it? It was there. And I think the remaster has a highlight hint, too. I forget what key it is. Did you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. To combat pixel hunting puzzles, there's a thing where you tap it and it highlights all the... You don't need that, though, do you, Ryan? You don't. No,
Wait a
too
minute,
advanced. You can scroll it, I think.
That down. And then the old lips.
There it is. So one thing he'll put his lips on. The entire game. We should have made it bigger. Okay, that's the one thing I'm going to put my lips on. That nasty gas-covered hose. Oh, freaking taste it. It's terrible.
Hey, who's that down there in the yard? It's him.
I have to siphon the water out of a little kiddie pool in my backyard later
Quick,
today, so
you
this
go
is
around
good.
The other side and we'll have him cornered.
Where'd he go? Let's call it quits, huh, boss? No,
That was one of my
let's
favorite.
call on
Just
Reed.
taking that running animation, just adding the gas can, a bunch of splashes on it.
Spraying everywhere, yeah.
It totally made sense.
All right,
Feel
and
a
then
little
we
touch
need
of Star Wars hovercrafts.
Oh, good. You get this from the gas tower?
Not exactly.
And once we get a welding torch and some new forks, I can fix her up.
I think your dog woke up.
So,
Look at him.
Oh yeah, she's up. Did so when the game clocks in shorter than I guess the general expectation is, does anybody at Lucas say anything to you about it, or are they totally fine with just
No,
whatever
because
you-
it sold so much. They're so happy.
Yeah. Well, good.
We should make all our games super short. No, we talked about that. It wasn't like there was much more, positive attention they got in general. But I remember getting an angry letter on paper about this puzzle, and I was really proud of this puzzle. It was like my first. I felt like real puzzle,
Yeah.
where everything's on one screen because we had made all the McAllen games and everything was a combination, like an inventory combination puzzle, and it was all about filling your inventory with so much stuff that you couldn't. You had to know what you're doing. You couldn't just sift through it and try everything. And we're like, let's make no inventory. Let's make something where it's just all on the screen. You have to do it, like a minimalist type puzzle. And this is the one. And I got this letter from a dad who was like, we played your full Throttle game, and this is terrible. Like, I should be able to solve that puzzle any way I want. I should be able to prop a 2x4 in that gate. I should be able to get any physical object, anything that would make sense in the physical world, I should be able to do. And I was kind of like, well, I'm with you, but I mean, that does sound cool. That sounds like a total physics-based game that we're not going to have for another 25 years. But like, he kind of predicted a lot of modern game where you could do anything. You try and simulate the physical world as much as possible and multiple solutions based on just physics. But back then, everything had to be exactly prescribed. Oh, here's my burnt out Le Mans. That's modeled after my car I bought for my dad, which is a 69 Le Mans. It looks kind of like a GTO Judge, but it drives boatier. But it caught fire while we were making this game.
Wow.
And burned down while we were all at lunch. We drove, and, it's gas leak, and just black smoke came out, and it just caught fire. And that's why he says fire damage. Forget about it. Still makes me sad to see it. It's at a friend's house in Reading, actually, right now. It's waiting for us to refix it, remaster it someday. We're getting too close to one of the points. Every game has its. When someone tells me, "Oh, I was playing that game, I got stuck," I can usually guess depending on which game, where they got. Like in Grim Fandango is usually the signpost puzzle, and Full Throttle is often the junkyard.
Yeah, I was one of those people. So when I told you, I played this game in co-op of sorts. My best friend Robert and I, who hung out together all the time, and we played all the point and click adventure games together. And when we got here, I remember we were just like, what do you have to do? And we as usual, I don't know if this happens to other people or just me, but I overthought the puzzle, just radically overthought what the actual solution was. Actually, I got to go down and put the meat in the car, don't I?
You can see I have an intense fear of dogs also. Let's see if your dog reacts to it.
Yeah, he's hanging out down there. Yeah, because
working crane mini game. That's all games should have. The trick is to crush the dog and kill it.
Yeah.
No, that's not really how you solve it. I like it. Ben just punches buttons. He doesn't push them with his dainty little finger.
Right.
Button. Take that. Hola Polenta, I've turned off the Cuckoo Clock for this, out of respect for Ryan and his stream, but I can turn it back on if you miss it. Oh, now, actually, I have to turn it back on. It's got a little switch.
Yeah, don't we have to put the meat in one of the cars, right? Do I remember that correctly?
Do you want me to give you a hint? You gotta get the dog in the car and then lift it up off the ground.
Right. Come on down, Ben.
Did you get an arrow? There you go. Okay. Quick, before he sees you. Quick! You're
Here, Poochie Pooch. Pooch.
panicking. Don't panic, Ron. Gotta keep up with Pooch. Now run. Run. Bon appetit, mutt.
But I remember trying to like stack all the cars in a certain way, trying to figure this puzzle out, all kinds of stuff.
You have to put 3 in a row and then you get a clacks. Now you have to drop the dog into the car crusher. See, this puzzle's not so hard. Yes. Now drop the car from really high up so the dog dies. I have all these super violent alternate solutions. Look at jiggling.
That's one strong mutt right there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really angry at that steak. You did it. You solved the second hardest puzzle in Full Throttle. Thanks for the Clax reference. Thanks for spotting that Clax reference. Now you're gonna go get the forks. Nope, not there. Not in the pile, in the other room. Not this room. I still call them rooms because they're called in old scum terminology. Here we are. I think there's a pile of parts.
Come on.
In the spotlight on the other side of the burn card. Go a little bit to the left.
Yeah.
Ah.
Parts pile.
Nice forks. Where'd you find them?
Right next to the knives and spoons.
That's the
Getting a
stupidest
welding
line.
course
So
and
stop.
I'll weld together.
I like
All right.
the hair moving. It's cool. Okay, you're done. Nope. You got
Todd.
gas. You got forks. You need what from Todd? Gas, forks, and a map, right? Is it a map? No.
Todd's
His
signs.
decor has a strong carnival coin toss flavor.
Close the door. Is this one of those door closing puzzles?
It's locked
Oops,
up with
outdoor.
steel brackets.
No. Even I'm stuck on this one because
what's
you have
this
to be in
song?
here with the door closed. Oh, this is the Chitlins Whiskey and Skirt song that a friend of Peter McConnell's had done with his band. Makes people think it's apocalyptic. You have to move that dresser so because you
Right,
go on the
you
little
get
elevator.
the elevator, yeah.
I think the door has to be closed, but it's not letting you close the door. You kicked it. I love being stumped on. Don't lick it.
I'm not putting my lips on that.
I can't tell you how many times I heard that while playing this game.
So where did Todd go?
It's locked up with steel brackets.
Close the door. Do you have to open?
You have to get him to the.
door?
You have to get him to the door so you can kick the door and knock him out.
Oh, he's
right?
not. Oh, he's not knocked out yet. Oh, okay. Yeah, knock on the door. I'll let you pay attention because you gotta pay attention. Look at the screen. You gotta look at the screen. You're gonna miss it. Don't lick
He's
anything.
coming up.
I got a guy coming to look.
There it is.
Yep, Mark Hamill. Don't lick him.
This
Never,
view defines true beauty.
I don't know where that came from. I feel like it came from somewhere.
Down we go.
No, Mark Hamill's still alive. The song was not written for Full Throttle. It was just a song that Peter's friend band had done that he thought was appropriate for the game.
So
He didn't enjoy all the hilarious
That's what I
dialogue in
want
Todd's
them
art.
to. Forget it.
Oh, it was just
Got
Very
about-
judgy about art.
Well, that's it. Wait out.
Little less
8 more
than-
hours to go.
Finish your
a little less than 15 minutes with you here,
Oh, we're
Tim.
not doing the whole game? I got all day, Ryan. I'm sequestered at home.
I wish I had all day.
Comes.
But I did want to ask you before too much time runs out about Full Throttle 2. There were 2 false start sequels that obviously never saw the light of day, neither of which you were involved in.
that thing every day. So what's the
Yep.
surprise?
And
just your average
now the first one, if I remember correctly, was maybe I'm remembering the order of this wrong, but the first one was going to be more of a traditional point-and-click adventure sequel, but then the second one was kind of more of an action game. The second
The
attempt.
first one was Larry Ahern and Bill, basically the Monkey 3 team,
Yeah.
except for without Jonathan, but Larry and Bill Tiller. And there's concept art for that Bill has put up on the internet. And it was going to be more traditional follow-up. And then the next one was the Monkey 4 team,
Mike
Sean
Stemmel
Mike and those people. Yeah. And that did incorporate a lot more action parts to it. And the first one looked very true to Full Throttle. The second one I was more like very I don't know about this, and it got basically canceled with my mind, I think.
Nice.
So that's the power that I have. I pray that I don't turn my psychic powers on anyone in anger.
I remember that was my first or second E3 in the industry. Hell on Wheels was shown behind closed doors, and I didn't get to see it. I didn't have the appointment, but the team I was with, Official Xbox Magazine, then, and they came back going, it doesn't look that great. So as such a Full Throttle fan, I was with no disrespect to the people that worked on it, I was kind of happy that it never came out, and that this Full Throttle is our collective lasting memory of the game.
Yeah, me too. I mean, the closest thing we ever did like a sequel would be Brutal Legend. I feel like it's like a spiritual, like in the same vein, in the same love of engines and just a lot of the same inspirations, I think, in those two games. Obviously, really different, but.
And even the first attempt, the more traditional attempt with Larry and Jonathan, that was Roy had already passed away, I believe, by that point. Was that correct?
Oh, I don't know when. I don't think it was that soon.
I feel like I remember thinking, oh, well, without Roy as the voice of Ben, I don't really want this to happen. Like, I don't want this. I don't want to see.
By the second one, they were going to do it without him, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Someone mentioned it looks like a Saturday morning cartoon, and that it almost. Well, we did talk to MTV. I was in New York, and I met with the guy up at MTV Animation, and we talked about doing this as a. I probably told the story a bunch of times, but I was like, yeah, they were like, they were doing the Max and the Head. Was it the Head? Aeon Flux and all those, art animation for adults and stuff like that. And they wanted to talk about this, and but Lucas, the argument I got from management was like, well, it's more valuable if we don't. It's more valuable this way. As an IP, as an unexploited IP is more valuable than an exploited one. And I don't know what that had to do with anything, but I guess they just, I don't know why they didn't want to do it. But that was one of the inspirations for leaving and starting Double Fine. I was kind of like, I'll never be able to do anything with these properties if, I hate to pass on these opportunities. And here we are not making cartoons of all our games. We did make one, Costume Quest.
Which is really good. Yeah, it's
really good.
good.
Yeah, a lot of great, talented people worked on that.
On the idea of because I've talked to Ron Gilbert about this, about Monkey Island. Would you want to get Full Throttle back at this point and do anything else with it?
Well, we'd like to. I mean, I just like to. You feel this urge to take care of your old stuff. Like you just want to.
Yeah.
Like if you put a statue in a public place, if you're an artist, you'd want to be able to touch it up and clean the pigeon poop off of it and just take care of it and make sure it doesn't become an embarrassment or it doesn't work anymore. And so that's why we were so happy to be able to do these remasters. That's what I really cared about. It was like, making it run again, fixing all the problems with it, getting it, looking good and sounding good, and taking care of it. Just because you worked harder on it, and video games rot. They sit there and they bit rot, and they. There's things like Scum VM, which is the fan-based emulator that runs old Scum games like they were, and that does a good service to like keeping these things alive. But I wanted to have it not just be alive, but also the remasters. The auxiliary, the making of materials, the bonus features in them are about capturing the spirit of the team that made them. So interviews and commentary with the team and stuff. And so that's the kind of stuff I really wanted to do. Not necessarily sequels. You never say never, but.
Yeah. I've already said my goodbyes.
Oh, that's a nice ending, Ben. Let it speak for me. But I would like to, just be able to have enough control to be able to take care of them and keep them alive. That's my main thing that I'd like to do.
Who's this? Wolf Gamer in the comments said missed so the Costume Quest cartoon's on Amazon Prime, and it is very good. It is super good.
Yeah, it's got people watching. It's from Frederator, so there's some Adventure Time people on there, and there's some Over the Garden Wall people, and just a lot of great animators. Nelson Bowles and a lot of great animators worked on that.
And then in the chat here, Rob Pagat, it's a good question. Tim, would you ever think of making a Psychonauts TV series, an animated series there?
I wouldn't personally make it because I'd want trained television scientists to make it, but we've been approached and talked about that kind of stuff with people as well, and it's always a question of like our attention and time, and we want to do it. We wouldn't want a bad one ever to be made, so we want to have enough say in that. But I think it's definitely Psychonauts leads itself to being like you can go into so many different people's minds. You can just make it go, and so it's definitely a fit for it, and maybe it might happen someday. We'll see. I see Greg Rice is in the chat. Hi, Greg.
Good to see Greg. I forget what I forget the next move because we've got the police blocking off. You have to. Did
you hit the roadblock already?
Yes.
You got to get them to go back to the gas tower.
Oh right, thank you. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. See.
Yes.
Glad I remember that. Only a few more minutes. Better get back in costume for my cosplay.
Right. So we can say.
Where's your jacket, Ryan?
Let's see. I don't know. I'll have to make something up. There it is.
Oh,
nice.
Really there it is. The headset ruins it, but it's like I'm working for a telemarketing. I sell biker supplies. Hi. Yeah, can I help you? Do I look scary? Like I'd beat you up if you don't like my adventure game?
You look like you
tell me my adventure game's too short.
There goes Ben.
Yeah, super cool. Ryan, where are your glasses? You told me we were going to wear costumes. You promised that if I wore a costume, you'd wear a costume. And now I'm sitting here looking like a Sons of Anarchy telemarketer.
Right.
Wear the suits.
All right. I will purchase season 2 on DVD. Okay, just let me off the phone.
My lips on that. Wait, I got a match Ben.
Ben, man, what's the deal? Did you find something up the road?
Well, thanks for playing.
For trouble?
No.
Tim, did you? So we got about 5 minutes here. Did you have any idea that this game was going to be a hit? Like, did you know it was really good and that it was going to be something that people wanted to play?
That was my daughter. This is Hamilton Camp. Dave Grossman wrote this song. Dave Grossman wrote the lyrics to the song from Day of the Tentacle. Hamilton Camp was a comedian from the Firesign Theater. Ask your dad about your grandpa about Firesign Theater. It's a very famous comedy group. I felt like, this game's amazing. We were making it because it was really hard. We were, it was the first crunchy crunch. Well, we had crunch mode on all those games, but except for Day of the Tentacle. But it was like we were just pushing everything so far as presentation and cinematics, and I had no idea. People were really worried about it being a biker game. They're like, bikers. To some people, to me, they were instantly cool. They're like, they sound really cool. And some people, they just what are they gonna do? Go around and beat people up and sell drugs and stuff like that? And it's like, what are you talking about? What bikers do you know? The bikers I know are just about freedom and personal authenticity and stuff like that. And so everyone has a different view of bikers. Some people thought they would be really a negative thing that wouldn't fit in a George Lucas family company. But
How about one for
we
the
proved them all wrong.
Corley?
Yeah, I love that this is
road.
the best-selling adventure game that you made. That makes me happy
Ben,
because it's a great game
I
and it
guess
deserves
That's
it.
awesome.
Burger couldn't wait
Well,
for
thank you.
natural causes.
It's,
Oh,
Just
this
like him,
spoilers.
the man with his
I remember the notes. I wrote a design document for this, and I got it back from production, and someone was like,
Burger did this
"You just
to you.
lost a quarter of your audience at the murder scene." They're like,
Put him
"This is too violent."
He wants to take over Corley Motors, Ben. Sell it off to foreigners. Lay off workers.
let's see, I got 3 minutes left with you.
understand
So
me?
we're
Minivans.
getting towards Rip Burger stuff, but so when Mark
gotta
comes
hurt him
in,
for me, Ben.
like, does he just land on the Rip Burger voice instantly, or do you kind of like do you give him a description of the character, or how does he land on that?
And she's a real mechanical genius,
He
Ben. Rebuilt her first
did
car
nail it
when
right
he
away.
was
I mean, you see, listen to that.
Yeah,
It's
I
different than the
used to call
Joker,
him
but
the
it's still you
Dynamo.
could hear when he does the Joker has
Find
similar
my
sort
daughter,
of
Ben.
evil,
Find
smoldering.
Yeah,
Marine?
So yeah, he nailed it right away, and then he nailed Todd. He nailed Emmett. Mert's a pro, and he's not from even just his old film acting days, but also his voice talent. Voice talent is a whole different skill set where you come in and you cold read a script. It's not like you rehearse for days. You just come in, you look at the script, you get to read it a couple times, and then let's go. Why was there no Crunchbone on Day of the Tentacle? Because it was the last game that was 2D and had no voice at first. So we just did it as a text-based 2D game. And then adding 3D and adding voice is what made everything more complicated because you had to have the dialogue. Like, we were changing dialogue in Monkey Island the day before we shipped. It's just a day. And now things, because you're localizing for SimShip around the world, you need to have a dialogue database that's locked months in advance. Or a year in advance to get all the dialogue recorded and get it all localized into other
There's no
countries'
shack,
languages.
But I
And so,
don't see the limo.
so we basically, when the decision was made to make it a talkie, like the first full-length talkie,
Yep.
we were
Second
almost
thought.
done with the game, and then we're like, well, it'll take 6 months to do all this voice stuff. So while we're doing all this voice stuff, let's work on polishing the game. So we had these 6 months of just kind of like extra. Like, imagine you're at the end of a project and someone's like, oh, by the way, you're done, but here's 6 months bonus time. So that helped a lot. So from now on, we always lie to the team when the you always give the bonus 6 months at the end. Just kidding. Don't listen to me, team. If you're listening to me, I would never lie to you.
It's too late. It's already been said on the internet. There's nothing you can do about it now.
Do I look tough enough? I look like my Uncle Joey. Hey, Joey. He worked at the recycling plant. Would always find weird things.
Who's it? Ola Planeta, if I'm saying that correctly, says, you look like Father Torque, Father Tim.
I am Father Torque. You move through the cycles of life. There's your Ben Throttle cycle, and then there's your Father Torque cycle.
Well, Tim, we
And
won't
then,
get to...
then you're Malcolm Corley. The
Yeah.
next step is Malcolm Corley for me.
Well, we won't obviously see the end of the game, but can I tell you that the toy bunnies hopping through at the end just crack me up. I love that.
I love those bunnies. Mhm.
Such a great bit.
Sorry.
Your hair, it looks good. It's good.
I got my quarantine here.
Yeah, me too. It's
longer.
a lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on, but we'll wrap it
Well,
up.
thank you for playing the game. I'm glad. Thanks everyone who popped in to say happy anniversary.
Yeah, this was super fun.
59 years. No, wait, what was it? 67, some long time ago. 25.
Tim, it's always good to talk to you. I love this game. I'll just say I'll end on this sort of personal anecdote real quick. I try to take my job in games media seriously, even though I'm covering the world of video games, which is in and of itself a fun thing, a hobby. But one of the first things I did when I actually got to meet you, Tim, which would have been for like a demo of Brutal Legend at that point, I would imagine. But it's like I told you, I still have my horizontal Full Throttle box, and I brought it to you and asked you to sign it, and that's why it's on my desk. And it's like it was the one time I allowed myself what maybe would be considered a bit of unprofessionalism and just fanboy out and say, Tim, could you sign this? Because I love this game. This is a great game,
nice.
Tim. Yeah,
That's
you're
so awesome.
it's
Thank you for not selling it on eBay.
no, it's mine forever, but you're the best. Thank you.
You're the
And
best. Thanks for having me.
Psychonauts 2 later this year. We'll hear more about it soon.
As soon as it's done. Yeah, we got some reveal secret things coming up.
We know you're on the July first party showcase for Xbox. That's been publicly announced. Well, your game is.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
But
it's gonna be great. Oh, you got the screensaver. Look at that. How many?
There it is.
3, because we had all these 3D bikes. What can we do with them? Spin them around. That's what 3D gets you. All right. Cool.
Tim, thank you so much. Thanks everybody who watched. And go play Full Throttle because it's awesome. Bye.